We live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi returns home after concluding his five-nation visit. Highlights issues faced by Global South, has also firmed up multiple pacts on areas of immense importance. Prime Minister Modi conferred with Namibia's highest civilian honour, also addresses Namibia's parliament, says both nations respect dignity and freedom for a shared future. Trump broadens push for tariff deals, unveils 50% Brazil levy effective from August 1st. Brazil warns of reciprocal measures. Letter also issued to Philippines, Sri Lanka, Brunei, Algeria, Libya, Iraq and Moldova. All eyes on ASEAN foreign ministers meet in Kuala Lumpur today, where US Secretary of State Marco Rubio will meet Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines. And India and England brace for Lord's showdown. Jasprit Bumrah returns to boost India's pace battery, while Jofra Archer will play his first test in more than 4 years. 5-match series tied at 1-1. And on to the details now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi returned home after successfully concluding his five-nation visit. In all the five nations, Prime Minister Modi highlighted issues faced by the Global South and also firmed up multiple pacts on areas of immense importance. The aim was deepening India's ties across continents, from Africa to Latin America and the Caribbean. We get you details in our next report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi undertook a five-nation tour from July 2nd to 9, visiting Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, Brazil and Namibia. A journey focused on boosting bilateral cooperation and strengthening India's global partnerships. In Ghana, PM Modi became the first Indian Prime Minister to visit the West African nation in 30 years. India and Ghana signed 4 key agreements spanning culture, traditional medicine and more. In a special recognition, PM Modi was conferred Ghana's highest state honour.
Both the leaders acknowledge that this is a historic visit, for the fact that this visit is taking place at the Prime Minister level from India after 30 years. President Mahama clearly acknowledged that it is a landmark visit that is very timely and very opportunistic, at a time when Ghana is also looking for partnership with India to deepen economic engagement.
Next, in Trinidad and Tobago, PM Modi was welcomed by Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bharati, marking the first Indian PM visit to the country since 1999. Both the nations inked 6 MOUs covering infrastructure, pharmaceuticals and other sectors. PM Modi was also awarded Trinidad and Tobago's highest civilian honour, the Order of the Star of the Republic.
A total of 6 MOUs or agreements have been signed between the two countries. These are, firstly, MOU on recognition of Indian pharmacopoeia. Secondly, we sign an agreement on Indian grant assistance for implementation of quick impact projects. In addition, we had program of cultural exchanges for the period 2025 to 2028, an MOU on cooperation in sports, an MOU on cooperation in diplomatic training, and an MOU on the establishment of 2 ICCR chairs of Hindi and Indian studies at the universities of West Indies of Trinidad and Tobago.
In Argentina, PM Modi held wide-ranging talks with President Javier Milei. Both leaders pledged to expand cooperation in trade, technology, defense, health and space, reinforcing a growing strategic partnership.
The two leaders discussed the necessity of diversifying and expanding bilateral trade. The Prime Minister requested Argentina's support in expanding the India-Mercosur preferential trade agreement, noting that such an expansion can bring mutual benefits for both sides and open up new opportunities.
Prime Minister Modi then travelled to Brazil for the 17th BRICS summit in Rio and a subsequent state visit in Brasilia at the invitation of President Lula da Silva. During the state visit, the two leaders held talks on trade and investment, defense and security, health and pharmaceuticals, agriculture, renewable energy, energy security, digital public infrastructure, space cooperation, and traditional medicine. In a special gesture, President Lula awarded PM Modi Brazil's highest civilian honor, the Grand Collar of the National Order of the Southern Cross.
All the key areas that were discussed, it includes defense and security, agriculture, food and nutritional security, energy transformation and climate change, digital transformation and artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies, industrial partnerships, including defense industries, critical minerals, oil and gas, and also bioenergy and pharmaceutical industry, and also business and private sector cooperation.
Concluding his tour in Namibia, PM Modi was accorded a ceremonial welcome including a 21-gun salute. Talks with President Netembo Nandi Ndaitwah focused on energy, health, education and digital cooperation. India and Namibia signed 4 agreements to deepen ties, and PM Modi received Namibia's highest honor, the Order of the Most Ancient Welwitschia Mirabilis.
Cooperation that were discussed was in the area of natural resources, because as you know that Namibia is endowed with rich natural resources like diamonds, lithium, copper, cobalt, graphite. All of these rich critical minerals are useful for our industry. The cooperation in the area of health was discussed, which also included the possibility of Jan Aushadhi being introduced in Namibia. Also supply of medicines and direct sourcing from India.
With this multi-nation outreach, Prime Minister Modi has not only bolstered strategic partnerships but also reinforced India's position as a trusted and influential global player. Bureau Report, DD India.
And we now get you highlights from Prime Minister Modi's visit to Namibia, an important development partner in Africa.
हमारी मित्रता राजनीति से नहीं बल्कि संघर्ष, सहयोग और आपसी विश्वास से जन्मी है। साझा लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों और उज्जवल भविष्य के साझा सपनों ने इसे सींचा। भविष्य में भी हम एक दूसरे का हाथ थामे विकास पथ पर साथ साथ आगे बढ़ते रहेंगे।
I have the honor to confer the honor of Most Asian Order of Belvicia Milbelt to Honorable Mr. Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
मैं इस सम्मान को नामीबिया और भारत के लोगों, उनकी निरंतर प्रगति और विकास और हमारी अटूट मित्रता को समर्पित कर रहा हूं। संविधान की ही ताकत है जिसके कारण मुझ जैसे गरीब परिवार में जन्मे व्यक्ति को लगातार तीसरी बार प्रधानमंत्री बनने का अवसर मिला। जिसके पास कुछ भी नहीं है उसके पास संविधान की गारंटी है।
In the 21st century, India's development lights a path showing that the global south can rise, lead and shape its own future. The message is you can succeed on your own terms without losing your identity. यह भारत का संदेश है कि आप अपने रास्ते पर चलकर अपनी संस्कृति और गरिमा के साथ सफलता पा सकते हैं।
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Hamas agrees to release 10 hostages as part of Gaza ceasefire talks, says negotiations are tough. Trump says Gaza ceasefire possible this week or next after second meeting with Netanyahu. South Korea's ex-president Yoon Suk-yeol rearrested after court orders. Judge cites fears he could destroy evidence. Yoon faces charges of insurrection over martial law bid. Armenia and Azerbaijan leaders will meet today in Abu Dhabi on peace plan. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, US President Donald Trump on Wednesday issued a round of tariff letters to 7 countries, including Algeria, Iraq, Libya, Sri Lanka and the Philippines. The letters call for tariffs of 30% each on Algeria, Iraq, Libya and Sri Lanka, 25% each on Brunei and Moldova and 20% on the Philippines. The latest letters add to 14 others issued earlier in the week, including 25% tariffs for South Korea and Japan, which are also to take effect from August 1st, barring any trade deals reached before then. They were issued a day after Trump said he was broadening his trade war by imposing a 50% tariff on imported copper and would soon introduce long-threatened levies on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. Trump has said trade talks have been going well with China and the European Union, which is the biggest bilateral trading partner of the US. US President Donald Trump announced that America would impose a 50% tariff on all imports from Brazil after a public spat with his Brazilian counterpart, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, this week. Well, in the letter posted on Truth Social, Trump announced that the 50% tariff is linked to Brazil's treatment of former President Jair Bolsonaro, who is facing trial on the charges of plotting a coup to stop President Lula from taking office in 2023. Trump also accused Brazil of attacks on U.S. tech companies. Trump was involved in a public spat with Lula earlier this week, while Brazilian president fired back on Wednesday, saying new tariffs would be met with reciprocal measures. Lula said Brazil would not accept interference from anyone and added, "No one is above the law." Lula, his vice president, his finance minister and others held an emergency meeting in Brasilia on Wednesday night to discuss the new levies. Well, President Trump announced a 50% tariff on copper, saying on social media that it would be effective on August 1st and that the decision was made after a national security assessment. Trump signaled on Tuesday that he was imposing fresh tariffs on copper, sending U.S. COMEX copper futures to record highs. Well, moving on, Wall Street ended higher on Wednesday as Federal Reserve minutes boosted hopes for rate cuts this year, with officials downplaying lasting inflation from Trump's tariffs bringing relief to the investors. Nvidia briefly touched a $4 trillion valuation, becoming the world's first company to do so. Its AI dominance continues to fuel investor enthusiasm. On the other hand, copper prices jumped a record 17% after Trump announced a 50% import tariff, shaking global supply chains and boosting domestic prices. On the pharma and EVs industry, Trump further hinted at 200% tariffs on foreign-made pharmaceuticals. Though EV battery makers benefit from new duty exemptions, electronics and solar sectors see cost cuts. And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday morning to attend the 58th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting. During his visit, Rubio will attend a post-ministerial conference and a meeting by East Asian foreign ministers. Well, it is Rubio's first visit to Asia since taking office, and he will try to reassure his ASEAN partners that the region is a priority for Washington. He will also meet with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and hold trilateral talks with the Philippines and Japan. Rubio will also meet with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines of the ASEAN meetings. The two leaders will meet on Thursday as the U.S. prepares to send more weapons to Ukraine. It will be the second in-person meeting between Rubio and Lavrov. The meeting comes as Russia has been pounding Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities. Meanwhile, India will be represented by Minister of State for External Affairs, Pabitra Margarita, at the ASEAN-India Foreign Ministers meeting. He'll also attend the 15th East Asia Summit, FMM, and 32nd ASEAN Regional Forum on 10th and 11th of July 2025 as part of the 58th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and related events. Well, the minister said he is looking forward to meaningful engagements and further strengthening the comprehensive strategic partnership with ASEAN. And moving on to West Asia, now leaders are inching towards Gaza ceasefire deal as talks are going in good direction between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and U.S. President Donald Trump in the United States. Speaking in an interview with Fox Business Network's Mornings with Maria, Netanyahu said negotiations are focused on a 60-day ceasefire that would see half of the living and deceased hostages returned to Israel. He said Israel had set up its own system to prevent Hamas from diverting supplies.
And you have been meeting with President Trump about a potential ceasefire with Hamas. Where does that stand? Will you agree to some of these new recent demands of Hamas?
Well, look, we are talking about a 60-day ceasefire in which half the live hostages and half of the deceased hostages would be returned to Israel by these Hamas monsters, you know. And yes, I think we're getting closer to a deal. I think
President Donald Trump is also quite optimistic that there is a very good chance of a ceasefire in Gaza this week or next, after meeting Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday for the second time in 2 days to discuss the situation.
Well, we're talking about Gaza for the most part. I think we have a chance this week or next week. Not definitely. There's nothing definite about war and Gaza and all of the other places that we all deal with so much, but there's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement, an agreement of some kind this week and maybe next week if not.
While Hamas on Wednesday said it would release the 10 hostages as part of Gaza ceasefire talks after Israel struck an upbeat note about the prospects for a deal to stop the fighting in Gaza. The group's statement came after 4 days of indirect talks brokered by Qatar and as the United States signaled its belief that agreement for a 60-day truce would be struck before the end of the week. Of 251 hostages seized during the assault on Israeli border communities near Gaza, 49 are still held in the territory, including 27 the Israeli military says are dead. And moving on, South Korea's former president has been rearrested over last year's failed martial law bid that plunged Yoon on Wednesday, citing fears he could destroy evidence. Yoon is already on trial for insurrection, personally appearing in court to contest the charges. However, Yoon has refused several summons from a special counsel launched by Parliament to investigate his martial law attempt, prompting prosecutors to seek his arrest on June 24th. Yoon, who was the first sitting South Korean president to be arrested, faces trial on charges of leading an insurrection over his attempt to impose martial law. The Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Aliyev will meet in the United Arab Emirates today to work to finalize a peace agreement after nearly 4 decades of conflict. The meeting in Abu Dhabi will be the two leaders' first formal encounter since they agreed on the draft text of the peace agreement. The South Caucasus countries have fought a series of conflicts since the late 1980s. The countries said in March they had finalized a draft peace deal, but the timeline for signing it remained uncertain. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that there will hopefully be a peace deal soon between Azerbaijan and Armenia, but offered no other details. Well, the French police raided Marine Le Pen's national rally headquarters on Wednesday over alleged campaign finance violations and fraud. The situation prompted its president, Jordan Bardella, to decry a new harassment campaign against the far-right party. The raid represents a fresh blow for the RN after Le Pen was convicted in March of embezzling EU funds and barred from running in the 2027 election. The RN has become France's largest single parliamentary party. Bardella broke the news of Wednesday's raid on X. The Paris prosecutor's office confirmed the searches, which it said related to a probe into an unnamed person, opened last week, following several reports from institutional sources. The inquiry is related to campaign loans that appear to have been fraudulently issued in excess of legal limits between 2020 and the year 2024, prosecutors said. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world today. Photos of the first Barbie doll with type 1 diabetes released by Mattel in a bid to foster a greater sense of inclusion and empathy among children. The new doll features a visible continuous glucose monitor on an arm and insulin pump, reflecting real tools used by many living with the autoimmune disease. Type 1 diabetes occurs when the body's immune system attacks and destroys the insulin-producing cells in the pancreas, making lifelong insulin therapy necessary. Lebanese designer Elisa presents his new Fall 2025 collection for Paris Haute Couture Week, featuring opulent princess dresses worthy of the most beautiful fairy tales, with numerous strapless gowns with long trains made of silk chiffon or satin and adorned with pearls. The collection exuded regal elegance, with each look evoking fantasy and romance, solidifying Saab's place as one of the couture's most celebrated storytellers. After decades working as a fisherman, Froylin Correa is now helping to save an endangered amphibian with gills resembling a lion's mane and a remarkable regenerative ability. Overfishing, pollution, and reduced water levels in Lake Padzicuaro, its only natural habitat, Akakwe, is listed as critically endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. And still to come in DD India News Now. Mild earthquake shakes Delhi NCR, tremors felt in Noida, Gurugram, Faridabad and beyond. Texas flash floods kill many, search for missing intensifies, governor orders flags lowered, Trump to visit the site. Guatemala earthquake kills 5, sparks 30 aftershocks, hundreds displaced as president visits the hard-hit town.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi returns home after concluding his five-nation visit, highlights issues faced by Global South, as also firmed up multiple pacts on areas of immense importance. Prime Minister Modi conferred with Namibia's highest civilian honour, also addresses Namibia's parliament, says both nations respect dignity and freedom for a shared future. Trump broadens push for tariff deals, unveils 50% Brazil levy effective from August 1st. Brazil warns of reciprocal measures. Letter also issued to Philippines, Sri Lanka, Brunei, Algeria, Libya, Iraq and Moldova. All eyes on ASEAN foreign ministers meet in Kuala Lumpur today, where US Secretary of State Marco Rubio will meet Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines. And India and England brace for Lord's showdown. Jasprit Bumrah returns to boost India's pace battery, while Jofra Archer will play his first test in more than 4 years. 5-match series tied at 1-1. And moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi continues to garner global recognition for his statesmanship and soaring popularity on the world stage. In the latest honour, he's been conferred with Namibia's highest civilian award, the Order of the Most Ancient Welwitschia Mirabilis. This is the 27th international honour bestowed upon Prime Minister Modi. Here's a roundup of the prestigious accolades the Prime Minister has received in recent months.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred with Namibia's highest civilian award, the Order of the Most Ancient Welwitschia Mirabilis. The award was presented by a Namibian president. This is not the first time that Prime Minister has been conferred with such state honours. Earlier, on July 9th, Prime Minister was awarded with Brazil's highest civilian award, the Grand Collar of the National Order of the Southern Cross. Brazilian President Lula da Silva presented the award in recognition of Prime Minister Modi's notable contributions to strengthening bilateral relations and enhancing India-Brazil cooperation across key global platforms. On July 4th, Prime Minister was awarded with the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the highest honour of the Caribbean nation, in a special ceremony at the President's house in Port of Spain. Prime Minister Modi is the first foreign leader to be conferred the award. On July 3rd, Prime Minister was awarded with Ghana's national honour, the Officer of the Order of the Star of Ghana, in recognition of his distinguished statesmanship and global leadership. In June this year, Prime Minister received highest honour of Cyprus, the Grand Cross of the Order of Makarios III. In March this year, Barbados conferred on him the Honorary Order of the Freedom of Barbados. The award was presented by President of Barbados and accepted on behalf of Prime Minister by Minister of State for External Affairs Pabitra Margarita. In the same month, during Mauritius' National Day celebrations, Prime Minister Modi was awarded the Grand Commander of the Order of the Star and Key of the Indian Ocean, the highest civilian honour of Mauritius. He is the first Indian leader to receive the award. In April, Sri Lanka honoured him with the Sri Lanka Mitra Vibhushana Award, the country's highest honour for foreign leaders. It was also the first time this award was presented to an Indian leader. Later in July, he was officially presented with Russia's highest civilian honour, the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle. Though it was awarded to him in 2019, he received it in person in 2024. The award recognized his key role in building a strong strategic partnership between India and Russia and promoting friendship between the two nations. In November 2024, Nigeria conferred upon him the Grand Commander of the Order of Niger, its highest honor. He became the only second foreign leader to receive this award, showing the high regard for his global leadership. In the same month, the President of Guyana, Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali, awarded Prime Minister the country's highest national honor, the Order of Excellence, for his visionary leadership and his support for the rights of developing nations on global stage. Also in November, Prime Minister was honored with Dominica's highest national award, the Dominica Award of Honor. The award recognized his leadership, support to Dominica during COVID-19 pandemic, and efforts to strengthen ties between the two nations. In December 2024, the Amir of Kuwait awarded Prime Minister with the Order of Mubarak al-Kabir, Kuwait's highest national honor. At the heart of these global recognitions lies Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision, one that focuses on the well-being of all humanity and on peace and dialogue. Whether addressing conflict, climate change, or terrorism, Prime Minister's message remains clear. The world must stand united and work together to find lasting solutions. Bureau Report, DD India.
And for more on Prime Minister's visit, we have Dibyendu Mondal joining us. Well, Dibyendu, Prime Minister returned to India this morning. Prime Minister Modi's longest diplomatic tour in 10 years, literally a game changer for India. Prime Minister has been travelling non-stop since last week. For the sake of our viewers, take us through the key highlights of the tour.
Well, Ipakshi, that's absolutely right. It has been one of the longest, five-nation visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the recent past. This is, of course, the second time since he had come to power in 2014 that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had been out of the country, for this long. So, of course, the five key nations where Prime Minister had visited over the last 8 to 9 days has been the important partners of India in its development as well as in its cooperation story. And of course, the highlight was, of course, just the report that we saw that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had been accorded with the highest civilian awards in many of these countries, which he just visited, apart from the ones that he had got earlier as well. The visit of Prime Minister to Namibia, to countries like Ghana in the Africa, who has been an important partner for India in the last 1 decade, has been key because this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the African nation of Ghana and Namibia highlights just that. And of course, India had been talking about the global south and how Africa has been a key partner in India's development story, and also, of course, in the international realm as far as India and Africa relation is concerned. So therefore, multiple MOUs have also been signed with both Ghana and Namibia. But having said this, Lipakshi, of course, Prime Minister had also gone to South America, where he visited, Argentina as well as the Caribbean nation of Trinidad and Tobago. This has been the second prime ministerial visit ever. And of course, after almost a gap of almost more than 20 years that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had visited Trinidad and Tobago and Argentina as well. And also the BRICS summit has been a key highlight of this visit, where not just the multilateral summit, but also there was a bilateral, visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Brazil, where he had been visiting Brazil on the invitation of the Brazilian president. So, of course, this sum up of all the five-nation tour is, of course, has been an extremely successful visit of Prime Minister in these five countries, where he just concluded and came back and landed in India this morning.
Yes, Dibyendu, extremely successful visit. And if we talk about the BRICS summit, Prime Minister Modi also said that India will give a new form to BRICS grouping in 2026 as New Delhi prepares to take over the leadership of the grouping from the current president, Brazil.
Well, Ipakshi, absolutely. India has been handed over the baton for holding the next BRICS summit. And Prime Ministers, we also saw how G20 had been a successful event which was organized in New Delhi under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And it had been extremely successful. A consensual, outcome document of the G20 was adopted. And therefore, a new realm of the BRICS on the similar lines of G20 will be organized in Delhi. And Delhi is already preparing for organizing this BRICS summit, which is held every year around the same time. And of course, the grouping of BRICS is a strong regional grouping where all the developing nations from across different parts of the world are part of the group. And of course, the tall players and the growing economies such as India, Brazil is part of this grouping, and therefore BRICS in the coming days, and of course under the leadership of the presidency of India and under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, will gain more voice, more strength during the presidency of India. So therefore, the BRICS summit is something that will be looked forward to, and we'll of course have to, see how the outlines and outcomes of the BRICS summit is framed here in New Delhi when Delhi hosts the BRICS summit next year.
All right. Thank you so much, Dibyendu, for all those details. And moving on, an earthquake measuring 4.4 on the Richter scale struck a Jhajjar district in the northern Indian state of Haryana. The earthquake happened around 9:04 a.m. on Thursday morning. The tremors were strongly felt across the capital, Delhi, and the surrounding NCR regions, including Noida, Gurugram, and Faridabad. Residents rushed outdoors in panic, though no damage or casualties have been reported so far. According to the National Center for Seismology, the quake occurred at a depth of 10 kilometers. Delhi, located in seismic zone 4, remains vulnerable to moderate to strong quakes. Authorities have urged citizens to stay alert and follow safety protocols. Well, global weather news now. Updates on the Indian weather first. Delhi and parts of the national capital region is witnessing heavy downpour today. In Gurugram, vehicles and commuters were seen navigating through the showers. The area also experienced heavy water logging due to overnight rain. The Indian Met Department has predicted that rainfall in Delhi NCR is likely to continue over the next 2 days, with the weathermen predicting a generally cloudy sky with very light to light rain accompanied by thunderstorms and lightning in Delhi until July 15th. Considering the situation, Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport has issued an advisory. It has advised the passengers to consider alternative modes of transport, including Delhi Metro, to reach the airport and avoid potential delays. It has also asked them to check flight status before heading to the airport. It further added that the airport's on-ground teams are working with all stakeholders to ensure that passengers' journey remains hassle-free. And updates on the Texas floods now. The devastating floods sweeping through central Texas have claimed at least 119 lives, with over 160 people still unaccounted for. Workers in central Texas continue to comb through piles of muddy debris from the July 4th floods as Governor Greg Abbott ordered flags to be lowered to half-staff over the tragedy. The bulk of fatalities in the search for additional victims were concentrated in Kerr County and the county seat of Carville, which transformed into a disaster zone when torrential rain struck the region early last Friday. The catastrophe has triggered fresh scrutiny of the country's emergency response model. Also, Governor Abbott, who toured the affected areas recently, said the state's emergency alert system would be reviewed in a special legislative session this month. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump will visit Texas on Friday to assess the damage and meet with the officials. And moving on, the annual Sri Amarnath Yatra is going on smoothly in Kashmir Himalayas on the 8th day of pilgrimage today amid tight security arrangements. With fresh batches of pilgrims leaving the twin base camps of Baltal in Sonmarg and Nanwan in Pahalgam amid chanting of religious slogans and bhajans, the total number of pilgrims who visited Cave Shrine in the last 7 days reached to 128,666. There is a lot of enthusiasm among the pilgrims reaching Kashmir from different parts of the country and abroad. Pilgrims are happy with the arrangements made by Sri Amarnath Shrine Board and the Jammu and Kashmir administration. And for more on the Yatra, we have Shabir Dar joining us from there. Well, Shabir, more than 1 lakh devotees have turned up in the last 7 days since the pilgrimage has started. 600 additional companies of paramilitary forces deployed, biggest military deployment ever. Tell us the latest from there.
Yeah, the Yatra is going smoothly, and as you rightly said, there's a huge enthusiasm among pilgrims coming from across the country and abroad who are going for this Yatra in the Kashmir Himalayas, and unprecedented arrangements, be it security and other arrangements are in place. The tracks from Jammu, the track of the Yatra from Jammu towards the cave has been geo-tapped, and additional arrangements of security, drones and high-tech surveillance systems are in place to ensure that the Yatra goes smoothly and safely. Remember, there is a huge enthusiasm among devotees, and we have seen they were chanting religious slogans and feeling happy with the arrangements put in place by the Sri Amarnath Shrine Board and the
Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir administration. The pilgrims were specifically thankful to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, whose government ensured that the yatra is secure and safe and goes on smoothly after the dastardly, Pahalgam terror attack. So obviously the yatris are happy and the mood is, electric and charged among the devotees because they are trekking the mountainous routes to reach the cave because the cave can be reached from two routes. One is from the Baltal, which is a 14-kilometer sleeper route, and another is a traditional route from Pahalgam, which is like 48 kilometers. It takes 2 days from the Pahalgam route and 1 day return from Baltal. So huge rush and big enthusiasm among pilgrims amid tight security arrangements and other facilities like health, medical, and the eatery, this food and beverage facilities available on every stop towards the cave.
All right, so a lot of enthusiasm among the devotees. Thank you so much, Shabir, for all those details from there. And moving on, a digital media news claimed that the centre has commissioned a nationwide study to assess the pattern of sudden deaths in India. Well, the Press Information Bureau calls the claim fake. No such nationwide survey has been commissioned by the centre or Department of Health Research. Authorities have urged the public to verify health-related claims through official sources and avoid spreading misinformation that could cause panic or confusion. And still to come on DD India News Hour. In Wimbledon, women's semi-finals will be played today. Stay tuned to know who plays who. And at the heart of it is La La Land, the Magic of India, a two-day festival in Ruigud, celebrates everything from Bollywood and classical music to yoga, food and spiritual traditions.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and on to some sports news now. The India versus England 5-match test series heads into its pivotal third chapter at the most iconic cricket venue of them all, Lord's. The test series is finally balanced at 1-1 as the third test approaches. The stakes couldn't be higher, with both sides eyeing a crucial lead. While India arrives with the momentum of a record-breaking win, England will be desperate to restore parity on familiar turf. Here's a report.
After a dominant 336-run victory at Edgbaston, India carried not just momentum but renewed belief. Their captain Shubman Gill, who scored over 400 runs in that match alone, returns to the home of cricket as a batter in sublime form, leading a side hungry to rewrite their overseas record. But England, bruised yet unbowed, will look to bounce back hard. The Lord's surface, known for its early movement, could tempt the host to tweak their bowling attack. Eyes are on speedster Jofra Archer, who returned to the squad after recovering from injury. Meanwhile, India welcome back their pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah. His inclusion promises a thrilling duel, especially against England's in-form middle order.
Lords का जो टेस्ट का जो फर्स्ट सेकंड इनिंग का स्कोर्स भी है वो कंपैरेटिवली लो है, सो एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि थोड़ा हेल्प बॉलर्स को ज्यादा हो सकता है. बैट्समैन के लिए चैलेंजिंग सेम थिंग मैं बिलीव करता हूं कि वो माइंडसेट ही है. Spending time on the wickets is the best friend you can have.
Akashdeep, fresh from a record-breaking 10-wicket haul, rattled England's top order and notably cleaned up Joe Root with a fabulous delivery at Edgbaston.
The right-arm seamer now faces the challenge of maintaining that form under the scrutiny of Lords. India's batting has found rhythm too. Apart from Captain Gill, Vice-Captain Rishabh Pant, Yashasvi Jaiswal and KL Rahul have showcased fearlessness and scored valuable centuries across both tests.
We, over the, history of 50-60 years, we played 7 matches over different courses, different teams coming here. I believe this is the best Indian team to be able to come here in England, and we have the capability to beat them, to win the series from here. And we have got the right momentum with us. If we keep making the right decisions and we keep grinding and we keep fighting, I think it would be one of the series to remember.
For England, a response is imperative. The batting unit, led by Stokes, Root, Brooke and Pope, has to find answers against India's varied and confident bowling attack. As the battle for Test supremacy intensifies, both teams know the third Test could be decisive. With the series tied at 1-1 and the Lord's stage set, expect no shortage of drama and defining moments. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, England has named its team for the third Test against India, which gets underway at Lord's today. Archer, who last featured in a Test match in February 2021, has been building towards return. He is seen bowling regularly during intervals at Edgbaston. Archer will replace fellow seamer Josh Tang, the only change England have made for the third Test. With the series tied at 1-1, the Ben Stokes-led England will be looking to bounce back against a high on confidence Shubman Gill-led India. And in Wimbledon, women's semi-finals will be played today. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka will make the third Wimbledon semi-final appearance of her career when she faces American Amanda Anisimova on Thursday. Belarusian survived a scare against Laura Siegemund in the quarterfinals, rallying from a set down and erasing multiple deficits in the final set. While Anisimova is in her second career Grand Slam semi-final and the first in more than 6 years after defeating Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova in straight sets on Tuesday. In the second semi-finals of the women's single, 2 first-time Wimbledon semi-finalists will square off for Saturday's championship finals. At one end of the court will be 5-time Grand Slam champion Iga Swiatek of Poland. A Final 4 showing here means the former world number 1 has at last made the semi-finals or better at all 4 Grand Slam events. At the other side will be Belinda Bencic of Switzerland, less than 15 months after giving birth to daughter Bella. This is only Bencic's second Grand Slam semi-final, but the former world number 4 is an Olympic gold medalist and a 2-time WTA 1000 champion. Well, a small village just outside Amsterdam transforms into a colourful tribute to Indian culture. At the heart of it is La La Land, the magic of India, a 2-day festival in Ruigud celebrating everything from Bollywood and classical music to yoga, food and spiritual traditions. Our correspondent visited the scene to find out how India's cultural spirit is being brought to life in the Netherlands. Take a look.
Here in Ruigoord, Amsterdam's iconic creative sanctuary, where these days the festival called La La Land, the magic of India, brings the vivid soul of India to the Netherlands. The festival starts with a program called India Insight, which highlights India's role as a powerful force in the 21st century. The festival was opened by the Indian ambassador to the Netherlands, Mr. Kumar Tuhin.
I can already convey a sense of being at home in the midst of friends and well-wishers of India and people who are working so hard to bring our two great countries together.
Alongside vibrant music and dance, there's yoga, meditation, crafts, talks, workshops and even cricket. It's India awakening right here in Amsterdam. Let's explore. Over 50 artists, from classical sitar to sarod maestros and contemporary fusion bands, are here to share India's colors, sounds, smells and ancient rituals.
We started with bridging India and the Netherlands through cultural exchanges and a cultural festival, but India is so much more. And as the ambassador also rightly said, India, it has like business relations, but also all the old knowledge and wisdoms worldwide. People are really into yoga nowadays and spirituality, and this is also what we're bringing.
Thank you very much.
Mark Limburg reporting from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, for DD India.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lupakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.